Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll for Tuesday, November 14, 2023. Our weekly spot in LA with CXO Co-Founder Travis Geiger of WagerWire. Speaking of WagerWire, our new proud sponsor and partnership. Not days, not weeks, not months, but hopefully years and decades of great partnership with them. If you're not excited, well, I'm excited. And if you're not excited, that means you probably haven't downloaded the app. Please go to Google Play and wherever you download the app, WagerWire. It's free. Start to get accustomed to it. Start tracking your bets. Start keeping track of your ROI. Take a look, scroll down, get comfortable with all those great sports books that they are working with. Window shop, something that I love to talk about there. Why spend minus 125 when you can get it for minus 118 right down the road or just a click away? Tis the season as we're getting closer to Christmas, so why not look for a little flash cash? And by doing that, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Travis, Zach, and the rest of the team will take great care of you. Without further ado, let's bring in today's star of this show, the one and only Mr. Travis Geiger.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Loving life.
It's Tuesday. It's our weekly spot here. And what I like to do and how we always want to start the show for all the new people that are just clicking in for the first time, give them a quick little intro, yourself, the story behind WagerWire, and exactly what is WagerWire.
Sure thing. Thanks. So WagerWire is the aftermarket for sports bets. It's something that Jeff actually envisioned a long time ago, and now we're building and partnering with the casinos to actually make happen. So what that means is you place a bet rather than take a cash out or rather than have to hold that bet until it either loses or wins. You can sell it on the open market. You can sell all of it or part of it. You can sell some of it to a friend. We're able to capture that directional value that exists, and we can look at some of these charts. There's a lot of times that those bets, whether it's your parlays or your futures, they're in the money. But if you're talking about the NFL, Super Bowl, 31 teams go to zero, only one of those teams is going to cash. But, the Dolphins, the Lions, we look at these teams, you placed $100 on them at the beginning of the season, you're way in the money. But how do you unlock that value? That's what the open market can do. So right now we're in the App Store. We're working with the casinos to get this trading functionality turned on. But what you have right now is a universal wallet for all your bets across all your books. You can see your stats, you can see your action, your balances, all right there. You can sign up for books right there. If you want to come be a sportsbook rep for us and sign people up for books, we pay very well. But we also are all about building community, kind of like what ECSI is doing here, all around just kind of thinking critically, like almost like the financial market about sports betting. So when you download us in the App Store, you can sync all your books, and then one by one over the course of the next year, we'll be adding more and more casinos where you'll actually be able to trade your digital bet slips.
You talked about the long game. You talk about long term. I like to say turning your sports investments, which we're trying to create and let the general public understand are truly assets, and to be able to sell all of it or part of it. So you're actually turning an asset into profit before its full maturity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's taking what's basically what was a roll of the dice. You could say what the odds are, what they're not, but you're basically choosing a team that's going to either have to make it or break it for you. But that bet goes on a journey, as we know that those teams, they go on journeys, and there's good times, like Jeff knows, when to buy when the team's undervalued, and there's times where you should take a little profit when the team's overvalued.
Shout out and a good morning to Mr. Russell Saylor. Thank you so much for joining the show. And Mr. Saylor, you have to be loving life here. Russ was on one of our shows a couple Fridays ago when I talked about jumping on the Bo Nix train, that he got almost at 7-1 for the Heisman, and now he is the favorite. So quack attack.
Wow, quack attack. We should check a look at some Bo Nix graphs.
So the Oregon Ducks potentially on a collision course with Washington there, but that's the beauty of what we do. That's the beauty of exactly what you're all about. And the day-to-day grind is so hard. And the bankroll, the beating that it takes, the highs, the lows. But the futures market is where it's all at. And
Mm-hmm.
take a look, as you said, only one of the 32 teams will end in the green in the NFL. We watched a Denver Buffalo game last night that had the last couple minutes. Buffalo wins, Denver wins, Buffalo wins, 12 men on the field, Denver wins. I saw a 30-1 on the Bills morning. And looking at their schedule and stuff, I mean, obviously there's not a better time to buy the Bills right now, but how many people can actually go to the window after watching what happened and run to and put some money on the Bills Mafia?
Right. No, it's a struggle. I certainly wouldn't, but as you know, we crashed out of Survivor on the Bengals, my hometown team. So I don't even know. I don't even want to talk about NFL. I'm so heartbroken, but we could talk about goodbye 9 million. That was going to fund us.
Well, and I felt so bad. And anyone that doesn't understand the Circa Millions, the Circa Survivor, again, you pick one team each week. They have to win. If you tie, you lose. And, if you're holding the golden ticket and there's only one winner at the end, it is $9 million, but there's a lot of curveballs, and one of them obviously is the Thanksgiving Day, where there's 3 games, 6 teams, where you got to save one of those teams. And the fact of the matter is, that you use the Lions earlier, you're saving Dallas. And listen, what was there, about 600-700 people? There was a big number on Cincinnati, wasn't there?
There was like 33% of the field. So this is I could just go down this little tangent real quickly because it's interesting. A lot of people that are at this point in the tournament, they want to sell off some of their action. Like their $1,000 entry is looking pretty good. Now, not everyone believes they're going to win that 9 million, but these, after last week, these entries are worth over 10 grand a piece. They're like 8 grand a piece going into last week. We had a couple people that wanted to buy into ours. We said, let's just make it one more week and poof. So what WagerWire does too is it works for pools, it works for brackets, it works for contests. If you crashed out and you wanted to rebuy in on somebody's, you could do that. If you wanted to take some chips off the table or at least get your 1,000 back because you made it to week 10, we can do that. We facilitate all sorts of transfers of not just betting assets, but brackets and contest pool entries, etc.
The Jake Paul,
Paul.
The mogul of social media. I think he's got another fight upcoming, or he just signed for a fight. Tell him the work that you do with Jake Paul and BetR.
Yeah, so I mean, God bless Jake Paul. You can think what you want about him, but he's taken a swing. He's got a sports book, right? It's called Better, and you can download that too. I'd encourage you guys to check it out. It's not just micro betting; they're adding a full, online sports book product parity, and then they will be adding WagerWire. So they'll be the first book with WagerWire in their app where you can actually buy and sell bets the way I was describing earlier. Buy your friends' bets. Well, sorry, they're not bets at first. It's going to be in their pick'em. They're going to be entries, and eventually it'll be fully integrated with their online sportsbook when they launch that. But it takes somebody crazy like that to say, hey, yeah, I do want to see this proven out. I think this is going to be table stakes for the industry, and I'll be the book with the competitive advantage. So right now, for what it's worth, bettors jumping in before Circa, before Superbook, before any of these guys have decided to go for it. Jake Paul's going to be seeing what he can do to the market share, probably carving away at those guys' market share, if I had to guess.
The sad part about it is it's not if, it's when. And then when these guys finally see where the actual long-term sports game and wagering is going, this will be at every casino. I can honestly tell you, they'll be missing the boat, and then they'll be running, like Forrest Gump, to be knocking on you and Zach's door here to say, all right, we were wrong. What do we need to do?
I hope. I see in the comments, Russell Saylor says I look like Lloyd Christmas in Aspen. That's my vibe. I aspire to be that, Russell, so thank you.
What we always do here is we pull up some graphs, nothing but rave reviews. Hats off. Each Tuesday we take a look at some graphs. This week we'll be looking at some college football, some Heisman's, where it started, where it is, who's catching steam, who's fading. We always joke, Caleb Williams way up here, and now he is.
Give him the visual. Give him the visual. As a UCLA Bruin, this is one of my favorite things. I'm not saying we need to poke fun at him for being playing emotional, but you can see this trajectory looked like he was going to repeat, and then they got exposed, and now rightfully so. Bo Nix is going to the moon. I mean, we can look at some of the rest of the field here: Penix, McCarthy, Harrison, and just to remind people, the way we're normalizing these, just to look at the journey of the value of the bet. We're normalizing it as $100 bet placed when the windows opened before the season. And we're saying, what is that $100 bet worth right now on the free and open market? If you were to compare this, if you had a Bo Nix bet, $100 Bo Nix bet, I guarantee you that's not what Cash Out's offering you. But it's a really interesting metric to compare it against, because I think sometimes we get these cash out offers and it gets really more complicated on parlays and stuff, but you don't know, it's not like a good deal, but you're trying to do this math in your head. Well, what is my ticket really worth? That's one of the services we can offer right now. You go to wagewire.com/calculator. You can put in what you placed your bet for, what the odds were when you placed it, and the current odds will tell you exactly what that bet is worth. Then these are just cool visuals to kind of map that value journey.
Well, watching the games, we were talking backstage, and we're going to get into some of these charts that we were talking about. There's some of the headliner games coming up next week: Michigan, Ohio State, in a couple weeks, potentially Georgia and Alabama. Mm-hmm. And what I said to you is, I'm going to say to everyone watching and listening, instead of playing the individual game, if you like Ohio State to beat Michigan in 2 weeks, you're better off grabbing a Big 10 title ticket. You're better off betting if you can get them into the Final Four tickets if your shops are open, or even to win the national title, because that's going to give you options to sell off, to cash out, or give you hedge options in the Final Four game or the championship. Perfect example, about a month ago, the ECSI VIPs got an alert from us while Alabama was playing Arkansas, and on DraftKings, Alabama was plus 2,000. And I was like, guys, you got to jump on this now. Just put it in your portfolio. If they run out, if they face Georgia in the SEC title game, which the look ahead line now is Georgia -3 against Alabama, you have an opportunity for a big time hedge. And as you can see here, it's almost a pick 'em, as you would say here, for the national title.
I mean, look, you're advising, the ECSI people got exactly the right info, because if you look at this, again, starting out $100 each is the bet that you would place on Georgia and Alabama, both to win the national championship is what this shows. Georgia pretty much solid all the way through, right? Doesn't make a ton of movement, but Alabama, they were down and out, right? And then you saw they still have this potential to actually pull it off. And so I think that your buy signal right here was absolutely right because they had fought their way back. And now it's a coin flip, and you could have gotten like an insane multiplier buying low on Alabama, buying at the right time.
And so again, it's still not too late to the party. I think Alabama's like 4 or 5, 6 to 1. I don't have the exact number in front of me. So if you like Alabama today, even you can still buy in because Georgia -3 in the SEC title game. If Alabama beats Georgia, they're going to the Final Four. Who's going to be there? An undefeated Michigan team or an undefeated Ohio State team?
Right.
Does Florida State hold on undefeated and get in there? What happens in the Pac-12? What happens to Texas? So there's a lot of variables, but if you like Alabama, you still can buy in and have a lot of options.
Yeah, I love that. And I also like, your logic about Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, it's clear that barring some sort of cataclysm, the winner of that game is going to be one of the 4 playoff teams. So rather than bet the game line, money line, whatever, just bet the championship because that's really what you're talking about is going to be the result of this win.
100%. So I'm going to turn it over to you. We're going to go through some graphs here.
Sure. So just back to this LOL. Harrison Jr. I think that's super interesting. I also wanted to pull up the Bama quarterback that you had your eye on right here. He's kind of lurking. What can you say about that?
Going back, I'm going to go back to the start of the NFL playoffs last year. Before they started the wild card games, we had the Bengals and the Niners both at 13 and 14 to 1. I had no Philly. I had no Kansas City. So I said to myself, where can we get the most value? I wasn't going to play the chalk, the Eagles to win the NFC or the Chiefs to win the NFC because I thought if they didn't, it was going to either be Cincinnati or the 49ers. So what we did is we got creative and we took Super Bowl MVP on Jalen Hurts at 6 to 1, and we took Super Bowl MVP on Patrick Mahomes at 4 to 1. Well, of course, what ends up Philly and Kansas City, we still had no stake on who won the game, but whoever won that game, most likely the quarterback was going to be the MVP. I'm going to say the same thing here. Even on Jalen Milrose. Now, again, we got some nice Bo Nix tickets, and I still think he's the guy to beat. I still think Oregon look ahead line against Washington, by the way, everyone, in the Pac-12 title games, Oregon already -6. So my point is, if you're going to jump into the party late on Alabama, there's still a little gristle right here on Jalen Milrose coming off the pace and sheeting here. Will he catch Bo Nix or even a Jaden Daniels with a couple losses? Travis Knight, all these guys, there is value here. I'm not saying he's going to win this, but there is value right there on Jalen Milroe and the Alabama quarterback.
I love that. I love betting the QB. It's smart. This is the crowded field. This is like all the real contenders right now. But you can see these are the dudes that were the favorites, right? So they're, they have less upside potential, right? Because they had more, favorited odds. But these are the guys that, other than Michigan was probably undervalued at the beginning of the season. I don't know what you think about them, or maybe it was their strength of schedule, but this is the pack. These are the 2 packs here. I'd be interested if which teams you're eyeing or which teams you have tickets on currently. I know we had been talking about Florida State quite a bit.
Yeah, in August, I'm actually going to send some timestamps out on this. My darling in August to win the Pac-12 and shock the world to get to the Final Four was Washington. And they're still undefeated. They're 2-point favorites at Oregon State this weekend. Honestly, my gut tells me Oregon State takes care of them, gives Washington their first loss. But
Whoa.
I'm still rooting for Washington because I got that rematch with Oregon and Washington. I have no shares on Florida State. We could talk for an hour, and I know you're too busy here. Uh, uh, the popsicle headache, or the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or the ifs. Who's in, who's out this year? I'll just give you my quick 30-second process. Um, Alabama, Georgia winner is in. The loser is out. Michigan, Ohio State winner. Winner is in. Loser is out. Washington, Oregon. If Washington has one loss and they beat Oregon, I don't know if Washington gets in. An
Mm,
undefeated Washington gets in, or an Oregon one loss beating Washington, a Pac 12 champion gets in this year. And then
mm-hmm.
you got the last spot. Everyone's going to talk about Texas.
Mm.
Everyone's what about the one loss Georgia team that has two-time national champs and hadn't lost in 3 years? Well, how can a one loss Ohio State team not get in there? So there's a lot of ifs there, but that's why the future market and still getting in now has more value than waiting for Ohio State, Michigan, or Georgia, Alabama, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually just got the Texas graph here for us to look at. Look at that. What a journey. You think they're gonna, so you really think that they're still in it?
Um, I think they need a lot to happen. Don't forget now, in their portfolio was a win, I think, in week 4 at Tuscaloosa. But in
Mm-hmm.
but in it's lots of times when you won and when you lost. They beat Alabama. Well, Alabama has gotten stronger, and Texas, that one loss to Oklahoma, is not as strong. It's losing its flavor. And Ewers
Mm.
getting hurt now back. If I was holding a Texas title ticket, I'd be worried right now. I would be.
I mean, it's a good time to par with it
I
for what you're buying. It's a total retrace, so you could get out even.
I agree. I'm selling Texas shares right now.
All right, cool. I love that. And I mean, I thought this was interesting. Is it better to bet the Pac-12 or the national championship on if you're going to go with either one of these teams?
If you got into Oregon a long time ago, if you watch our shows, you have Oregon shares, you have Oregon stakes. Mr. Sailor has the Bo Nix Golding ticket at almost 7-1. Washington, if Washington cheats, if Washington beats Oregon State and they beat Oregon in the rematch, Washington's in. So if you believe in that, then hold on. If you're Oregon right now, tickets into the Final Four, hold on to that. If you're just getting into the game, you've missed the Oregon value. You've missed the Bo Nix, obviously, value. I think I'll say it this way. Washington was leaking after they beat Oregon. They struggled for 2 games. They won. They went to USC, put up 52. They're playing well. They were fortunate, I think, on the Utah game. If you,
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough call right there. I'm gonna hold on tight. How's that say?
That sounds good. Utah, do you have faith in Utah at all?
No, nope.
Wait, this is a really funny graph. Um, for anyone interested on why you should sell your bets at the opportune time. They all crashed to zero, all but one. Okay, and we went over the Ohio State Michigan. I thought it was just interesting how Michigan's really popped and Ohio State still kind of not getting the love you would think.
And it's, we haven't even brought up the name Jim Harbaugh. We haven't brought up Team Khaki Pants. And the fact of the matter is, again, he is not going to coach the last two games, which obviously the last game will be against Ohio State. It looks like they'll allow him to coach in the Big Ten championship game if they beat Ohio State, and then obviously into the Final Four. You still can get in on Ohio State. I don't have the opening number for Michigan, Ohio State. My gut tells me it will be in the 3.5, 4, 5, maybe even 6 range. I haven't got that number yet. But if you like Ohio State, not only to cover that game, but to win that game, here's where you need to be. You have to be in, obviously, in the Big Ten championship to win the Big Ten, and then obviously to win the national title. And also the you can still buy some shares in Marvin Harrison Jr., which, listen, it's a long shot. As Travis says, there's only one winner. Okay, they usually end up to be framed, confetti, beer coasters, or thrown in the trash.
Yeah, that's right. Or you smash your phone if it's a digital ticket. Okay, I mean that's the most fun stuff I got for you this week. We should keep our eye on these storylines. I think it's so interesting when teams do this retrace, because they essentially land back at their preseason value, but after this crazy journey. So if you were skeptical about Bama and you wanted to see if they were going to show up this season, maybe maybe before the season starts isn't a good time to buy. Maybe you want to listen to Jeff and just kind of follow along and see if you can get in at one of these lower values. It's kind of like a wait and see. Or conversely, like a long shot team, they're going to have their best odds ever when the window opens at the beginning of the season. So it's interesting. It's just, visualizing this stuff, it really kind of lets, I think, people understand, and it helps me understand that these prices are, elastic. And if you could just hit the sell button or call the banker for a fair value at any point in time, I think it's almost like a game within the game that allows you, like you said, to bet like an investor.
And, when we started January 1st, 2015, the market wasn't where it is now as we're going into 2024, the start of our 9th full season of public service. Your cell phone, I like to say, is the Bellagio. And or we'll say where we are now at the Circa. And there's nothing that you can't bet. There's nothing you can't go in. Now the in-game lives, the prop betting, the whole game has changed. And the thought process in August is, well, I don't want to tie up my bankroll. I don't want to hold on to 4, 5, 6 futures, and they're going to hold my money till January 1st. So to be able to buy in after an Alabama loss to Texas, or wait even longer when they were really struggling, or if you see some value and some teams trending up, the Oregons, the Bo Nixes, to add to your portfolio is one thing, but to be able to sell parts, the whole ticket. Hey, listen, I'll take my profit. I see danger. I'm glad to get out, doubling my money. You hold on to this ticket. You enjoyed the ride because I like where I am. But that's where WagerWire is just phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks. Now I got the NFL lines just came in, got updated. So this is all real time, and we give these graphs to Jeff just so everyone knows. And if you follow his Twitter, he tweets them out. Here is the Dolphins. It's kind of interesting. I just want to bring up the Bengals real quick because it reflects that loss. Devastating, crushing blow. Right here. Sorry. So Jeff and WagerWire as well on Twitter. We disseminate these. We're eventually going to make this a publicly available tool. Like I said, the calculator is publicly available, and eventually you guys will be able to generate your own graphs like these. It'll be really fun. Just like you do when you're looking at your stocks, your portfolio. I think everybody listening knows more about the front office of their favorite sports team than the C-suite of any stock in their investment portfolio. So it makes just as much sense to monetize this as it does shares in Invesco, QQQ, or something crazy.
And I'll close with this on the Bengals. The Bengals got a quick turnaround. They traveled to Baltimore. My true number was Baltimore -4. It has gone down to 3.5. The loser of that game, either the Ravens or the Bengals, would now have lost 2 in a row. So when I talked about early on the show, the Bills are now at 30-1. The public remembers what they saw last. And Travis, if you sent me $100 to bet on Buffalo right now at 30-1, I'd probably Venmo you 200 back and tell you to go enjoy Alaska next week with your sister and take her out for dinner. But the fact of the matter is, let's just say the Bengals lose on Thursday night. They are going to start to really crash with the Bills. So you might want to jump back in on the Bills and wait to see what happens on Thursday. If the Bengals lose, pizza and beer money in case one of these two teams gets hot late.
I mean, it's true. I mean, if you think about, these are two real contenders, and this is where they started the season at this line right here. I think that they're going to get back there and they're going to get into positive EV territory, both of them.
Well, as always, it's been a pleasure. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank Zach and the rest of the community and team that you guys have built. Anyone watching and listening, Russell and everyone else, we can't thank you enough. Like tipping the dealer at the Bellagio, I like to say, if you can tweet, retweet on X or Twitter, go over to our YouTube station at East Coast Sports Investor. Subscribe. It's free. Myself, Travis, I hear every Tuesday. Next week is a short week. It's a holiday. Travis is going away. So our Tuesday show will not be here. I was just going to actually grab him and maybe say, well, maybe we could do it on Monday, but that's for
we could. I mean, here's from Mr. Saylor in the comments here. Should Belichick get fired? I don't know. What happens if Rodgers comes back? These are two of my favorite crap graphs, actually, to look at. I mean, you can see the Rodgers trade, oh, such high hopes, and then the injury, oh, no. And then can they fight back? I don't know.
So interesting. And it's sometimes hard to see through the trees. It's sometimes, when you go to the window or you go to your app and you actually are placing them, if you're starting to squirm and you're like scratching your head, those are the ones that usually come in. And so sometimes, again, it doesn't look good. I mean, the Bills at this point, people are bailing. Bills Mafia, they're bailing. They still have Josh Allen. Now they want the coach fired. But you got to be able to sometimes take a step away, get that bottle of ammonia, open up the cap, take a good smell, and kind of clear the thought process. So want to thank everyone here for watching and listening. If you're not following Travis, please go over to WagerWire at CXO. Go follow WagerWire at WagerWire. Amazing app over at Google Play or wherever you download. Travis, as always, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Jeff, and thanks to everybody listening. And I really enjoy being here, so thanks for having me back every week.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Travis Geiger at WagerWire CXO. We can't thank you guys enough. Thank you. At 3 o'clock, myself and Andrew McGinnis from WagerWire will be back here talking pucks and the CFL Grey Cup. And at 4:30, myself and Riley Magnuson will be here for the closing bell. And as always, sponsored by WagerWire. Guys, enjoy the rest of your morning, and we will see you soon.